All right, what's up, folks? Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Just one of those days. Had to work late and got home and had to finish up, or just had to do the things that you got to do when you get home from work. Jonathan's going to be here in probably about 10 minutes. He had ball practice with his kid. He's helping. He's a coach, like a co-coach. He's helping his kids' baseball team, and we got a special guest coming on later on, probably about 8 o'clock. We're going to have Jack Uxa. He's a guy down from Lake of the Ozarks, and I reached out to him today because I was thinking there's a BFL coming up this weekend. Got Big Bass Bash, and we've got the Warrior William tournament coming up. So there's a lot of events, a lot of fall events happening on Lake of the Ozarks. So I thought it'd be good to get some kind of report down there at Lake of the Ozarks to see what's going on down there. Everybody that's watching, is the audio sounding okay and the video look good? Just let me know. Got a few announcements to make real quick before we get started. I mentioned it a while ago, the Warrior William tournament. Warrior William Foundation Fishing for Warriors 2021 tournament is going to be held on Lake of the Ozarks October 9th. It's a $1,000 first place guarantee, 100% payback on big bass. It's $170 a boat, and that includes big bass, drinks, and dinner Friday and Saturday night. Great cause, guys. Great cause if you're looking to fish a tournament. If you don't mind driving a little bit, if you're from this area, or if you live near Lake of the Ozarks and you want to jump in a tournament, it's a good tournament for a good cause, good group of guys. And I strongly encourage you to jump in that if you're looking for something to fish over the weekend. I haven't fished it yet. I may actually fish it. I'm not sure what's going on that weekend, but I think I'm off, so I'll have to see what's on the schedule. And then secondly, I'd like to thank I don't do this enough, but some of the people that have been with me through this little journey, Cumberland Pro Lures. Wearing the shirt right here. Isaac just sent a big old care package of stuff, and we'll probably look through some of this in a little bit. But I reached out to him when I decided to do these giveaways, and he was really, really busy. I mean, he's moving a lot of product. He's with Tackle Warehouse, Omnia Fishing, Land Big Fish, I think Sportsman's Outfitters. So he's just busy. Business is good. A lot of stuff is made overseas, and they're having problems getting that stuff onto the shelves here locally in the United States, which anybody that's been to Academy or some of these other places, you'll know what I mean. It's like hard to find stuff. His stuff is all made in the United States. It's all made down there in Georgia. It's American-made stuff. He's got a really small operation, and he does it all in-house for the most part. I mean, not in his house. He's got like his little shop and stuff. Well, it's like a warehouse, I guess. I haven't been there. I need to make that trip down there sometime. I will. But it's all made here in America, so he's been really busy. He's got a lot of good products. If you haven't checked out Cumberland Pro stuff, check it out, man. It's good stuff. I've been fishing their products for probably about a year now, and zero complaints. Just really good stuff in there. And Isaac's like a tinker. He's a jig nerd, first of all. So the head designs on his jigs are all made by him. He comes up with the designs, and he's got a CNC guy that he works with, and they get the molds right, and they go back and forth, and they field test it. He sent me some stuff to field test through, over the last year, and he gets feedback from the guys that have the product before he decides to put it on production. But he is always tinkering and always coming up with new ideas, ways to modify the pre-existing products and to make them better. He just came out with a new Ned head. It's got a weed guard on it. I think he sent me some of those. He redesigned the Cumberland Pro spinnerbait earlier this year, actually just about 2 months ago. He's had stuff come out for Oddcast, the True Track swim jig. If you haven't checked that out, it's a really good one. Got a really killer flipping jig. He's got, I think a buzzbait is the next thing he's working on. That's in the works right now. But go have a look at them if you haven't yet. American-made products and good stuff. But he sent a bunch of good stuff for giveaways. So we're going to amp up these giveaways over the next couple months. Next, I'd like to thank Hawgz Custom Baits. Eric and Jay, really good dudes, man. It's a small company out of Festus, Missouri, and they're just pouring the stuff there at the house. It's growing. They're actually pretty busy. It's doing pretty good, but they custom pour stuff. If you've got any kind of colors that you're wanting, get a hold of them on Facebook. Great guys, easy to talk to. They're very open, great customer service. reasonably priced, very affordable products, good plastics. You know, it's not loaded. Most of their stuff's not loaded up with salt. It's a high float plastic, and it stands up really good on the shaky head. You know, whatever, just good stuff, man. They got a lot of different shapes and sizes, colors, everything. So check them out. You can get them, hit them up on Facebook, Hawgz Custom Baits on Facebook, and also Winning Edge Fishing. I'd like to give a shout out to Rob, because if you've seen any of the ads, you know, for 10 Horse Money, the live streams that we're doing, that's Rob from Winning Edge Fishing. Rob worked with the St. Louis Blues as a marketing director. I think I've got this right. I know he did work with the St. Louis Blues for several years. He was in their marketing department, and he also worked for Bass Pro Shops with the Bass Pro Shops fishing team in their marketing department. So he's got a lot of experience in the marketing department. He's gotten into the social media thing. So he's just kind of growing this slowly. He's kind of picking and choosing who he wants to work with. And if you're looking to promote a pre-existing business in the outdoors industry, check out Winning Edge Fishing. Really good dude. So, hey,
what's up?
Jonathan just showed it. It's good to see you here. Let's see, what are we going to talk about tonight? We're gonna jump into fall stuff, man. It's we got a cold front coming through. I think I saw like mid 40s for some lows coming up at the end of this week. So we're going to dive into, you know, some things to throw in the fall to get you some more bites, some of the stuff that we've had confidence in. And we're going to talk to Jack here in a little bit. We're going to get a Lake of the Ozarks report. And I fished a tournament yesterday at Kincaid. I had the Sunday off. My wife was up in St. Louis with her girlfriend's getting married. So they were doing like the girly thing. And then the kids spent the night with a friend. So I had that all taken care of. And I was going to go fishing with Jason, a friend of mine, Jason, and he's got the Lowrance Active Target, and he's really good at it. So that's going to happen soon. So I'm going to do like an active target video because I'm seriously considering that. I got the money right now. I'm just kind of deciding whether I want to go the Lowrance way or the Garmin way. And I've seen the live scope a couple different times. My buddy Doug Cheatham just got it, and he took me out on Wapapello and showed it to me. It's pretty cool. But I want to see the Lowrance version of the product before I pull the trigger. So I was supposed to go fishing with him, with Jason Husky Sunday, but he had to cut hay right at the last minute. He called and said, "Hey, my dad needs help. We got to get this final cut, and we got to get it in before the weather hits." So I decided to jump in a tournament over at Kincaid. It was USA Bassin. Couldn't find anybody to fish it with. So you were out of town. You were in Kennett, man.
You're right.
On Cheryl Crow.
You're right.
So I jumped in it, man. It was fun, man. I got to meet a bunch of people. They recognized me, and they were really cool dudes. Had a really good time. The fishing was tough for me. I learned a lot though. I stayed in my starting spot. First of all, I fished in an area. My starting spot was an area that I never fished. I don't fish that lake all that much. I do in the spring a little more. I'll go over there about once every couple months. And summer has just been it's been tough on me over there. I just haven't spent enough time. So I didn't really get any feedback take that back. First 15 minutes, I had 2 blowups on a frog, one on a toad, one on a frog. Didn't hook up with them. Then I fished it looked really good, this area. It's an area that the fish are going to get into. I 100% guarantee it. They're just not there yet. When they start to move up shallow and get in that grass, it's got all the right stuff. It's like a big cove with secondary points and nice juicy mats. There's a little bit of bait, like that same stuff that's over at Cedar, that really small, like shore minnow type stuff. That's kind of in there. There's a little bit of bluegill moving around stuff. But I stayed in there for a long time without really enough feedback. And I don't know. I learned I should have bounced around a little bit more. Long story short, it was tough. I mean, I caught some fish. My chesty camera went out about an hour into the trip, and my power pack, I didn't charge it. So I didn't have a chesty, and so whatever. I just kind of threw it to the side. I'll have a video up sometime. It won't have a lot on it. So it'll probably be a lot of commentary, just kind of explaining how the day went and stuff. But there was a storm moving in the afternoon. It started out sunny and foggy. So they held us for about 15 minutes. And let me back up. I fished by myself, which didn't hurt me because you can only keep 3 fish 3/16 on Kincaid. So it didn't matter if you were in a boat with another person. It was 3 fish per boat. So I was able to fish by myself. Like at Cedar, they've got the 1/18 and 4/14 per person. So if you're fishing by yourself, you can only keep 1 over. But if you're fishing with a teammate, you can keep 2 over per the boat. So Cedar, it really hurts you if you fish by yourself. Kincaid, it wasn't that big a deal. Everybody can keep 3 fish per boat. So I wasn't too worried about that. And, like I said, it's hard to, when you're not getting any feedback, it's difficult. I tried out deep, tried out shallow, tried outside grass line, clearer water, some points, some halfway back in the coves, actually kind of all the way back in one cove. And I just wasn't getting a lot of feedback.
Did you pre-practice at all?
No, I just went over there. I went over there a couple weeks ago, but I only fished one of the places that I fished a couple weeks ago.
It's changed a lot last couple weeks.
It has. It changed a lot.
Daylight's getting shorter.
Yeah, and I didn't start out. I wanted to. My ideal was I'm really wanting that punching bite to happen and the frog bite to happen. So I keep pushing it, and I stayed with it too long. I threw a frog for like an hour. I punched for like an hour and a half, and like I said, I got those 2 bites right off the bat, and it just it just wasn't going on in the area I was. So I bailed out of that area and I fished a couple main lake points, nothing. I picked up a fish on a jig and then a fish on a swim jig, and had a couple bites on a worm. I was getting a little bit of feedback, but just not anything concrete and solid. So had about an hour and a half left in the tournament. I'm still sitting on nothing, 0. And I'm like, Jesus, I got to catch at least 1 fish. I don't look like a complete DB at the weigh-in. So I pulled back in this area. It's by Paul Ice. If you guys are familiar with Kincaid, you'll know where Paul Ice is. So I pulled back in that area, and I hadn't fished. I've only fished back there a couple times. It really looks good, and I wanted to go fish this creek. There's a creek that comes in way back there. So when I was coming in, there was a boat in front of me, and they were idling. It's an idle only, and it's a long idle to the back of it to where I wanted to go. And I'm behind this boat, and I'm thinking, okay, we go past one little cut, they didn't turn. Another little cut, they didn't turn. Another little cut, they didn't turn. And I'm like, surely they're not going to the same place I want to go to. Sure enough, they turned into that same cove, that creek, and they went about halfway back. And I stopped at the mouth of it, and I just kind of started fishing in there. I picked up a little wacky rig, just a wacky rig, Maxent General June bug on a spinning rod, and I started getting some bites. I had a pretty good one hooked up that pulled off. I didn't see it, but it bowled up pretty good. It felt good. And I caught a couple small fish, but it still didn't have anything to show for. And there was about 30 minutes left in the tournament, about 45 minutes left in the tournament, and the storm was moving in. The clouds kept building all day long. I knew it was coming. You could just feel it. The wind kind of started picking up as it kind of started cooling off, and you could see the dark clouds. And I'm like, man, I'm just, that's not going to happen. It's just one of those days, man. And so what I do, I tied on a speed crawl. When in doubt, tie on a speed crawl. Oh, faithful, man. June bug speed crawl, 1/4 ounce weight. I pegged it with a bobber stop, left about this much gap between the weight and the bobber stop. So you still got that action, but you can still flip it in and out of heavy cover, not worry about it getting hung up. And I just, 3/0 Gamakatsu EWG super line fits perfect on the speed crawl or the baby brush hog. And I just started pitching around. I had about 30 minutes left, and the storm's coming in. And I made a pitch out on a piece of wood that was on a really deep bank. My boat's sitting at 25. I pitched up there in about 8, and I was working it out to about 14 feet. And I felt that little tick, just a little bitty tick. I set, and it was a good one. So I got it in the boat. It was kind of squirrely. I actually tried to swing it, and it was almost too heavy. I had too much line out, and then I reeled back down on it and swung it in. I'm like, geez, I'm going to break my line. So I got in the boat. I felt good about that. It was a little over 3 pounder, so a good quality fish. So I'm thinking, well, at least I got one in the boat, man. At least I got one in the boat. And I moved down this bank a little bit. I was kind of running out of bank, the right type of bank. And the storm's coming in even more. So, I think it was like 2:42 or something. Tournament's over at 3. And I'm only about 4 minutes away, just right around the corner. And so I made a cast, and I told myself out loud, this is the last cast. Okay. It's got to be the last cast. So I'm working it down this treetop, and boom, I felt this bite was just that kind of just a pressure bite. It wasn't a tick or anything. It was just
spongy.
Kind of felt spongy. It's kind of one of those things where if you guys are jig fishermen, worm fishermen, you know what I'm talking about. After you fish something on the bottom a lot more, you can get kind of a sixth sense when you're really dialed into it. And you just feel like a little bit of something, just a little slight pull. And I bowed up, and it was I think it was like a 389 or something. And it was a strong fish. You know, it really got hot right next to the boat, and I didn't have anybody to net the fish. I was on my own. Luckily, I got it up on top of the water, and it kind of opened its mouth, and I lifted it and put it in the boat. And I'm like, that's it. You know, I kind of said, I'm done to the camera. I had 2. You know, I thought I was going to 0. I came up with 2, and I really think that if I would have been doing that for another hour prior to that, so here's 2 thoughts. A, I just picked up the right bait and I was looking on the right stuff, or B, that storm kind of fired them up. And I think that storm kind of fired up because I saw Ron DeRosa on here, and he was fishing the Angler's Choice on Cedar, which, by the way, congratulations to Ron.
Had a big bag.
They had
almost 14,
almost 15,
almost 15. Okay,
almost 15 pounds, and that's 2 over 18 and 3 under 14. They had a 7 something. And so their second over was mid-5, 5.5, something like that. Awesome. That's a stud sack. Awesome, man. Good job, guys. But I was talking to him, and he said he caught 2 overs. He caught that big one, and then another over right as that storm was moving in. So, and then I talked to a couple people at the weigh-in, and they said they caught several fish right in the last hour. That's so awesome. That storm kind of fired it up. So, short story long, I weighed in 2 fish for right at 7 pounds. I think I finished 11th or 15th or something, outside of the check range. I needed one more keeper, and I would have had a check.
Well, you made the right adjustments.
I made an adjustment, felt good. Didn't look completely stupid. And on the ride home was a lot easier. But the rain came in right there at the weigh-in, so everybody got soaked, and then it was gone. It only rained like really hard for 20 minutes.
Just enough to get everything
soaked. Well, I drove back through it on the way home. My boat was kind of dried out halfway because of the air, driving home. And then when I turned north on 55, I went right through the heart of it again. So everything got completely soaked. I got a 5-gallon bucket full of water from my drain plug out of the back of my boat. So anyway, it was a fun weekend. I'm glad I jumped in that. Fishing solo it's always nice to have somebody else in the boat. 2 baits in the water is better than 1 bait in the water all the time.
Well, especially in that team format, whether it's either as a co-angler or you're not fishing against each other, but you're not fishing for the same fish. But when you're in that team format, it's, if you're not on anything, if you went blind, you had no practice, you're just trying to figure it out for the day and try to make a quick buck, essentially. I mean, one guy's fishing the edge, one guy's fishing the top water on the mat, and then you pull out a little bit, and the other guy's throwing something a little bit different on the edge, and the other guy's throwing out in front of the boat even a little deeper. So, yeah, I mean, for you to come up with that, going in blind, hadn't been over there in a couple weeks, just doing what you do, I mean, that's –
yeah, I did what I could do.
You can't complain about that because a lot of those guys probably were over there Thursday and Friday pre-practicing for that tournament.
Yeah, and like you said, if you've got one person throwing a frog up in the grass, somebody else can be working something out a little bit deeper, and you can figure things out a whole lot quicker. But it was a good tournament. It was fun. There's another one. I think there's 2 more, and I have those weekends off. They're on Saturdays, but I actually have those Saturdays off, so I'll probably jump in the other 2. Had a really, really good time. Yeah, Ron, you're welcome, man. That was very impressive.
Darius said somebody put a 928 largemouth on Kentucky this weekend.
I saw that post. They're in there, man. We got Jack in here in the queue. Let me kind of scan these questions real quick, and we'll pull you in and get a look at the Ozarks report. He gave me the thumbs up back there. So Jack's a really good dude. It was really nice of him to volunteer his time, and we'll dive into some fall fishing on Lake of the Ozarks. Let's see here. We got a bunch of people in here tonight. This is awesome. We got Kevin in here. What's up, Cody? Brock, DJ. DJ's a bass player, man. I forgot DJ was a bass player. He had a picture on Facebook showing his guns off in his bass. Mike Miller, what's up? Kobe Baker. Ken, what's up, brother? Good to see you on here. Caught 39 yesterday, 2 to 5 pounds on a jerk bait. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about jerk baits. I know that's one of Ken's favorite baits. What's up, Drake? Stephanie's in here. Bass RX. Hella Bass. What's up, my man, Rich? Hey, yeah. I hope we're better than football, at least for an hour.
Oh, come on. No
You can watch the fourth quarter,
question.
man. You can always watch the fourth quarter. Let's see here. Cody loves Hawgz. That's right, Cody. Yeah, they make some good stuff, man. Really good guys. They're making a good quality product. See if we missed anybody. I think we got everybody. What's up, Tom? Oh, yeah, Darius, Baitman, was showing a video when he took him fishing on Kentucky Lake about a month ago. I'll have to check that out. I heard him talking about that the other night on the stream, but I haven't. I don't know if he posted it yet, or I haven't really looked for it.
Todd?
Yeah, Kobe said there's not a main lake point that's open on Egypt in the mornings. That's very true. Yeah, Todd's in here.
Drake.
Okay, here's a good question for Jack when we get him on here about the BFLs. Let's pull him in here and see what he's got going on, and then we'll ask this question. And
looks like he's rigging up tackle.
He's rigging up some stuff. What's up, Jack? You getting ready for a trip in the morning or what?
Yeah, I'm in my boat, getting ready for tomorrow. You know, I'm sorry, not like, I don't know. I'd love to do one of these things on the water. That would be kind of sweet one of these days.
Yeah. That would be really cool. Have you
ever done a live podcast on the water?
You know what? When I was at Mille Lacs fishing with my buddy Ron, I was a buddy of mine, Fitz Fishing, Fitz. He wanted me to be a guest on a live stream. So we tried to do a stream out on the water, but I only had about 2 bars on my cell phone. So it just didn't work.
Yeah, man, we don't have to worry about that too much here at Lake of the Ozarks. We got people everywhere. This is like a city on the water, you know?
Yeah, you got good cell phone service out there.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many restaurants here on Lake of the Ozarks. You want, you want Cajun food, you go to this place. You want, this kind of food, you want a pizza, you go to this place. It's crazy how many people come down here sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of shocked when I started fishing Lake of the Ozarks. Like, you've got 24-hour gas pumps where you just pull up and use your debit card and get gas, and bars on the water, anything you want, you got it there.
Yeah, as long as you got a credit card, I mean, you can get gas. I remember one time I was coming in. It was it was dark, a little past sundown, and I'm like, one of the last guys on the water, and this is kind of pretty cool part of the year. And sure enough, there's a boat out there in the middle of the channel. It's run out of gas, and I pull them over. There wasn't. We were within a couple miles of a pump, thank God. And they filled up with gas, and they went home, and I went home, and everything was no big deal. But if we would have been on any other lake, it would have been a big deal.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I know a lot of times when I go fishing in the winter, around here, I'm the only boat, or there's maybe 1 or 2 other boats. It's funny. One time it reminds me of a story. One time I went to Lake Gerardo, which is a little, like 160-acre lake. It's a 10-horse lake, about 30 minutes from the house, and it was fall time. Yeah, it was fall time, and there was me and one other guy on the lake. And this is the first and only time I've ever did this. That lake has a really shallow boat ramp, so you can't get your boat off the trailer without getting wet or using a rope. So I hooked up I got like a 20-foot rope, and I just backed in and let my boat float off the trailer. Well, it kept going. And it kept going. I had hooked both sides, either to my trailer or to my boat, probably to my trailer, I think. And I just watched it sail away. And, the water was probably 50. And so you're not going to go out there and swim for it. So then I'm like, okay, I saw another truck and trailer in the parking lot. There's got to be, it's only a 150-acre lake or whatever. There's got to be another guy out there somewhere, unless he's bow hunting. And so I walked around. There's a cove that you pass right when you drive into the lake. And I walked down the hill, and that guy was in there fishing, and he was within shouting distance. And so I said, "Hey, buddy, can you give me a ride out to my boat? I'll explain later." And sure enough, he got on the trolling motor and came up, and I jumped in the boat, and he took me out there. He saved my butt. But, you know, if he wouldn't have been there, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, I guess I would have just
a cold swim.
I would have waited for a good north wind and just went to the south end of the lake and tried to jig my boat up.
You know, it's amazing how many situations that you think would never occur end up occurring out there. You know, you'll be fishing and something crazy will happen with a fish. Like, man, I've never seen that before. And you know, like you never would think you would see this or that happen. And sure enough, it happens. I mean, it's crazy. Being out there on the water, just funny things happen.
Okay. I got a question for you. Have you ever caught the same fish with two different baits at the same time?
You know
what I'm saying? Like you get a
jig and he ran over and ate somebody else's jig.
Yes.
In both. Yeah. I have seen that once or twice, and I really don't know how to explain that. I have seen it. I think it's almost like they're just running around, maybe not trying to actually eat the second bait, but maybe just got somehow hooked in their mouth or something. But I have seen that like twice, and it's really bizarre. I don't know how to explain
so
that.
What happens in a BFL?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what you do with that. You probably have it. Probably go to the boater. I mean, you probably have to go to the boater.
That's my fish.
Yeah.
It's just part of it.
I heard that first, probably. I don't know, but
yeah.
You know, there's been a couple times where I've like set the hook, or I've had somebody set the hook and snap them off on the hook set. And you're like, you know, man, that stinks. So you sit down, retie, you get to pitching again, and a handful of seconds or maybe a minute later, you set the hook again, and guess what? It's the same bait that you just lost in that fish's mouth. And that very rarely happens on Lake of the Ozarks, but I've seen it happen on the river and some other places around here where the fish are a little bit more wild. And gosh, like, how is that possible, man? That shouldn't be possible. That fish should have learned, and no, he didn't.
Yeah, so they're obviously that fish is so keyed up and feeding so heavily, he didn't care. He was just like a big bully in a bar fight. He was just going to the next guy that wanted to fight him. Yeah, and they get schooled up this time of year a little bit. You can find a hot dock or a hot point. I mean, it's fish. They school up year round. We tend to think of they only school up at certain times, but even this time of year, there's been a couple different times here recently where we found a hot dock, and for whatever reason, you can continue to run that pattern, and the pattern works in other coves and stuff, but it's really a hot little dock where you can have, say 4 keepers off of one dock. I've seen that happen here recently. Yeah, that's cool. Well, the reason I brought that up about the one fish on 2 different baits is because I heard that story again. I've heard that story twice. One was from a guy I worked with where him and his dad both caught the same fish on an old monster worm. Crazy. And then I heard it again from my buddy Doug. He was fishing a tournament somewhere, and they were sitting on 4 fish. They needed a 5th fish, and one of them set the hook, and about just a couple seconds later, the other one set the hook with a jig, and they're both fighting this fish. They didn't realize that they were fighting the same fish, and then they got it up to the top of the boat, and there was 2 lines going to the same fish, and the baits were in the mouth. And they both tried to swing it or something, and it just got tight, and there was not enough momentum to get it in the boat. And they're sitting there. It was like a 3.5 pounder. So this fish is just sitting there dangling, flopping around. They were sitting on 4 keepers. They needed that fish. And then about that time, they realized, hey, we really need that fish. We better figure something out. And they got it in the boat. But that's the only 2 times I've heard of that happen. And I thought that fish is just down there just eating everything within sight. And, grabs one bait, and probably maybe the first guy had a little slack in his line and didn't fill that bite, and it allowed that fish to swim over 3 or 4 feet. Actually, Doug, I think, said he was about 5 or 6 or 7 feet away, the cast. It wasn't like he was right on top of him. So that fish had to swim a little bit and suck that other bait up. But like you said, crazy stuff happens out there on the water. And the more you're out there, the more crazy stuff you see.
Yeah. And with this weather front we got coming in, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we start seeing some pretty actively feeding fish again. I mean, even this past weekend, there was, we're primarily trying to focus in on the docks or do whatever. And then all of a sudden you start seeing, some fish chasing bait, out in deep water, not relating to the docks at all. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that here real soon.
Good deal. So I got a question that just jumped up here, and there is a BFL coming up this weekend on Lake of the Ozarks, and Drake wants to know, what do you think the weights will be for the 2-day super tournament on the boater side and on the co-angler side? Any guesses?
Oh, September, traditionally speaking, I'm going to say 18 pounds a day for the boater side. So that's 36 pounds. Sounds about right. Not stellar, but solid. I mean, that's pretty darn good. Co-anglers, it's hard as they always, man, sometimes they really surprise me. There's like 2 or 3 co-anglers that jack them. Yeah. I'm like, you think they're like, they'll be good with 12 pounds or something like that. And somebody strolls in with 17 for one day. And then the next day I'll give them 12. So, so like 29 pounds, 30 pounds on the co-angler side. That sounds about right. I mean, it's hard to do, but it's somehow it happens. Somebody gets lucky on some stretch, and 17 and 12 on the co-angler side for maybe give them 30 pounds, and about 38, 37 pounds or so on the pro side. It's there's some good fish biting right now, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily easy right now either. Are you guys fishing this weekend?
I will be. Yep. I hope I'm the guy that catches 7.
The following weekend?
I don't think so. I'm off that weekend, but I don't know. I fished it a couple times, and it's fun, and it's you get the right bite, and things can get really lucrative for you. But I haven't made up my mind. There's a lot of boats out there. I just remember fishing it, and you try to go to a spot and there's 6 or 8 boats there, and then you go to the next spot and there's 6 or 8 boats, and it's just, there's a lot going on out there. So I'm not sure yet.
Sounds like a frustrating weekend to me.
It's fun, but if you're trying to run any kind of pattern, or you got an area you like to fish, chances are unless you get there first, there's going to be 30 people that have already went through that area. But I don't know.
You guys should fish it though, man. I mean, it's $100,000.
I know.
That's insane. I mean, and you guys fish. There's a lot of guys that don't fish that are going to be fishing this tournament. Just because of the opportunity. I mean, that you just don't get those chances. How many BFL first place wins would it take to equal $100,000? I mean, granted, it's a lot. I mean, you're going to, you'd have to win every BFL first place for a few years to add up that $100,000. So it's a lot of money. I know it's frustrating. I mean, I'm taking off that weekend. I'm not messing around with it, but Lake of the Ozarks in general. I mean, I pulled into a spot on a Sunday morning. There's 5 boats in front of me on one stretch. I mean, it's just,
and Jack, and to your point, I mean, a lot of guys that fish it we'll call them fishermen. They're just out there for that one bite. And I mean, those 4, 5, 6 guys that are on that spot in front of you may not know a hill of beans about it. And you go up there and catch that one fish.
You can still catch fish behind people. I mean, I did it actually yesterday in that tournament, the bank where I caught my 2 keepers. Somebody had just went down that bank and they didn't catch anything I was watching.
Right.
So you can still catch fish behind them.
Yeah. We pulled behind those 5 boats the other day. Guess what? We had 2 fish. I mean, right off the bat. I mean, it can be done. And it's just a lot of the people fish, and everybody's got different styles. And, it's not like you're going to really be patterning 7-pounders anyways. You just just chuck something big out there. I've helped a couple guys do pretty good in this tournament, and one of the guys, he was not a big fisherman. He didn't know how to use his live wells. He didn't know much about the lake or nothing like that. And he listened. He hired me, a week prior, and listened to what I told him, and he got lucky. He won $100,000. Is what it comes down to. He just got lucky, and so it's luck. It's not.
So you got 10% of that, right?
I didn't get a dime out of that.
Oh, that's not even right.
Like, hey man, where are we going for dinner? I am starving. And we talked for a little while, and I was kind of joking, but I was a little bit serious.
Of course, man.
Yeah. Anyways, I think I saw him one other time after that for another guide trip, and I'll probably see him again. He's just not a fisherman, though. He's not a fisherman. The guys listening right now are fishermen. You guys are fishermen, and he was just a guy. He's just like, hey, I got a boat. Figured I'd enter it. I'm not doing anything, so showed up and he won $100,000. Part of the reason why he didn't give me a good chunk is because he split it with the partner. That was also not a big fisherman, and so that was their agreement going into that tournament. And so his partner got $50,000 and he got $50,000. So
that's a nice payday.
Yeah,
So what's your theory on that? If you were to fish that, how would you attack it? Just big baits or what? What do you think?
My number one thing was I'd go way up one of the rivers, primarily the Osage River. I try to get away from a lot of people. There's some big old nasty fish up there. I live here in Osage Beach. I live right in the middle of where everything's going on. And that's great for normal stuff. That's where I like to guide at. But if I was going to fish the Big Bass Bash, I would go and fish the 70 to 90 mile marker and try to get away from a lot of people. There's not a weigh-in location up there. And, so if you catch a 3-4 pounder and you try to hit that exact 3 pound weight, you'd probably have to make the decision of not weighing in that fish and missing out and just sticking with the big baits and that area, because you can't just make a run back to weigh it in versus say within your 5 minutes of PB2 here, you get a 3 pounder, you just go, hey, it's only going to take us 10 minutes to weigh this fish in. Let's go see if we can get the was it $500 for the 3 pound fish or something like that. And you won't be able to do that up there. You're all in for the big one, and you got 16 hours to do it. So it sounds easier than what it is, I know, but that's what I would do. I'd go way up the river. I'd be throwing a lot of jigs and spinnerbaits and maybe a buzz bait, and definitely big fish baits. Yeah, it's if I was going to stay down here where everybody wants to fish, I'd probably throw this big swim bait or glide bait, and maybe a 1 ounce football jig. Depending on what the conditions are. We can't see it's not quite 10 days out yet, but it will be here soon. So we'll be able to get the forecast here pretty soon for what it's going to be like. I tell you what, man, lately, I know we got a front coming in tonight, but man, it's been hot. It has not really been, fall-like so far. So water temperatures in the upper 70s, it has fallen below 80 just recently. We've had some really nice mornings, some really cool mornings. But man, those daytime temperatures, it's been hot. I mean, me and my kids were swimming yesterday at the local pool. It feels like summer still. So it seems like the Big Bass Bash is going to be a little early this year. It's what is it, the 2nd and 3rd of October, or 3rd and 4th or so. So it's at the very beginning of October. And with the water temperatures right now, I mean, everything still seems quite warm. I mean, I know we got a front coming in. It's going to change up some things, but it's been a little on the warm side so far. So,
well, that front's going to knock that water temperature down. Hopefully, get those fish pretty active moving in the next couple weeks. So,
hopefully,
yeah, you got a good point. I mean, these fish, some of these fish have already been in the back of the coves, already been chasing bait. They've been back there for a little while. This is just going to encourage those fish. But there's also a good group of fish that are still in the main lake. I mean, I've run several guide trips here where we just stay on the main lake here, and that's where the majority of the active fish are for that area and for that day. So it's going to be it's going to be good for a lot of things because you can really fish your strength. If you're a guy that likes to throw a chatterbait and, crankbaits and move shallow and cover a lot of ground, great. You could go catch them like that. If you're a guy that wants to fish offshore, use your fancy fish finders and, think and go deeper than everybody else. Guess what? That's great for that too. I mean, it really is you can bring every lure you got right now and you got a chance.
That's the problem that I got. I can bring everything I have, and then I'm confused.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I'm in my garage right now, rigging up stuff for tomorrow and the next day, and it's everything. Unfortunately, I mean, from finesse worms to half-ounce jigs to crankbaits, the buzz baits. Yeah, it's everything right now, unfortunately. But it's just you got to pick what you're most comfortable with and swing for the fences. Set the hook hard and have your hooks sharp and have that net ready.
So you're still seeing for the people that are on here that are going to be fishing the BFL this weekend, you're still seeing fish kind of spread out throughout the lake, or have you noticed? I know you said you saw some fish had moved back.
Oh yeah.
Are you seeing? Do you think that's the trending pattern, or is everything just kind of on a hold right now until the water starts cooling off? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely the way they're going. They want to go back there, but you got to remember it's Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, we had how many terms this past weekend? Those shallow docks and all that shallow cover is being hit, and it's not just being hit on Saturdays and Sundays. There's people out there on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays that are fishing that same stuff. And, my last day that we busted 20 pounds was about I think it was a week ago today. Had a really good customer. We both can flip and pitch and we had 20 pounds and they were all caught shallow. All right. Now, since then, it seems like those fish have either gotten beaten up or they moved out. Now, will they come back? Absolutely. Yeah. And I want to keep doing that. I had several buddies fishing this past weekend. Some of those guys fished deep. They caught them. Some of those guys stayed shallow. They also caught them, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't like that day that me and my buddy or me and that one customer had to where it was just like, we could pretty much call our shots. In fact, I remember pulling up to this one dock and we were fishing the last few docks in the cove. I said, we caught a pretty good fish on the third from the last dock. We caught a couple fish on the second to last dock, and I wasn't fishing the last dock. I said, there's a fish in there. It's a good fish, and we're just going to stay here until you catch them. And, just sure enough, just a few seconds after that, he sets the hook, and it was one of our better fish of the day. And, yeah, he was there just like he was supposed to be. That pattern, that calling your shot like that doesn't happen too often. And
no, it's nice when it does, though.
Yeah, I bet you tonight would have been a really good night to be out there with this front coming in. I bet you they were chomping this evening. They were chomping this morning, and this morning was hot and kind of windy, but they could feel that front coming in.
Yeah, it was sticky out there. It was like Louisiana, Mississippi, kind of just humid, tropical stickiness. So the fish were biting. Plus, I was working. So when you're working, the fish are always biting.
Always.
Guaranteed. Because your buddy that's fishing always sends you a picture of like a 5-pounder that he just caught just to rub it in.
or as soon as you pull it into, I call it a convenience store. So as soon as I pull in a convenience store and I see a Ranger pulled up outside, loading up with ice and headed to the lake.
Yeah. And he always says, "Hey, you can jump in the boat if you want." And you're like, "Yeah, whatever, buddy. Get out of here, man. You're bugging, killing me." So what about topwater fishing? Has there been a decent topwater bite?
It's been okay. There's been certain days where it's been okay, and there's been certain days where it's been pretty poor. It's a good way to catch a big one, though. I will say that. I got a spook right here. Well, it's not a spook, but it's a Berkeley's version of a super spook. It's the bigger one with the 3 hooks on it. That's been working really good here lately.
That's caught some fish, I can tell.
Yeah, it's been a good one. And it's the whopper plopper bite has not really turned on for me yet. It might tomorrow. The buzzbait bite has been not so good for me yet, which is, it's time for that also. It's time for them really to want to chase. Lately, it's been like you have to call them out, and that's where the spook is a little bit better because they've been underneath the dock. You got to make some commotion outside of the dock, call them out, and so it's been a little bit slower top water if it's been a top water, but really it's been more of a jig bite than anything.
How long does that plopper bite last on into the fall?
Well, I mean, it'll be December before we lose our topwater bite. That's for sure. Yeah, December 10th, December something. Maybe I'm not talking Christmas, but it's Thanksgiving is all about the topwater. November is always about the topwaters. But you got to play. You got to play how many other people are throwing it, and if they're messing, if too many guys start throwing that, it messes it up. I mean, it's like the back end of the coves, like, the last 3 docks in the coves, it was working good. Well, it fizzled pretty darn quick.
Yeah. Everybody out there, if you've got any questions for Jack, get them in here real quick. We'll keep him on here for just a little bit longer. I know he's got a guide trip in the morning. Stephanie's kind of got a question. Stephanie always asks really, really good questions. She wants to know, this is kind of going back to when the fish move back, when the bass go back in the coves and the creeks, do they chase bait fish back there, or do the bait move back shallow on their own and then the bass, find them?
Well, the bait moves back there on its own for sure. Because you'll see him do that before the bass even get back there for some reason. And then the bass eventually find them back there. So yeah, I don't know why. It's kind of weird. The temperature will drop just a touch or something, and maybe there's a little bit of fresh water moving in from some of these creeks, which a lot of these creeks are actually spring-fed creeks. So maybe it's a little bit cooler. They could tell just a couple, a half a degree difference in temperature. But yeah, those shad will get back there, a while ago. I mean, it was the end of July, 1st of August that a lot of these shad were starting to get back there already. And it doesn't mean they stay there for all that long, because some days you'll be back there and they're like everywhere. I mean, just blowing up, and, you throw your topwater over by them or you throw whatever by them. And, you occasionally catch one, but you miss way more than what you catch. And they're there. And sometimes they're white bass back there too. But a lot of times it's largemouth. I mean, and there'll even be some catfish back there at times blowing up on the shad. It can be a very frustrating time of the year for sure, because, you can go through a variety of different baits that you think they're going to want. And, rattle trap comes to mind, various, fast moving crankbaits come to mind first. Flukes and jerk baits come, this should make sense. And I tell you what, one of my best baits to throw in that situation, especially on a warmer day, is just a Cinco, just a wacky rig Cinco, nothing special. It doesn't really look like a bait fish. And I don't know if that's because maybe everybody else is throwing, a spook or some sort of crankbait at those fish or what, but it seems like a green pumpkin Cinco catches them when a lot of other traditional fall time baits won't catch them. It's kind of weird.
Maybe it's that slow fall is kind of like a shad that maybe got punched by a bass and it's kind of wounded, just floating down. Maybe I don't know. I mean, who really knows? It just, bottom line is if it works, you keep throwing it, right?
Yeah, you're right. If it works, you just keep doing it. And it's not every day too, because most of the time they're going to want something fast. Triggering that reaction strike this time of year is a big deal. So a lot of times my jigs, my weights, generally speaking, this time of year are a little heavier than normal, and go fast, slow, and that's a big deal right now. I mean, you could be throwing a jerk bait and work the same way, spooks same way, crankbaits, real stop. That stop and go deal is a big thing this time of year, and eventually that'll kind of subside sometime in probably about the big bass bash. Some things will kind of change where the fish will kind of get tired of seeing that, and then you just want dead sticks and baits a little bit more.
I tell you another odd bait that works in a schooling situation I've had good luck with is a black and blue swim jig. Looks nothing like a shad, but it works. I don't know why, it just does.
Yeah, I don't have it right here, but I've got a lot of confidence in various brown swim jigs this time of year. You think white. You're like, all right, man, Bassmaster back in the day told me to throw white. So I've got my magazine from 1999, and they're talking about white is the next big color. And I'll throw white. I mean, it works sometimes, but my all-around color is just still a brown, peanut butter and jelly swim jig.
I think it just stands out. They can see it. It's the black sheep in the family. It's that shad that looks different than the other ones, and they can key in on it. I guess that's my theory on it. I don't really know either. Yeah, well, and black and blue worms, man, they're still working too. I mean, doesn't make a lot of sense. They've got all these other great looking various baits that I've got I don't know if y'all can see this, but it's a chartreuse and black crankbait. Yeah. We were going to talk about some square baits here in a little while. I've got a whole bunch of crankbaits. Some of them look just perfect, just like a shad, and yet, that's going to be the first one I'm going to pick up and throw. Yeah, there you go. Like, that should work. That would be like the deal. But my favorite, and it's not just me, but probably the number one color for shallow square bills, chartreuse and black. It's been around for a long time, and it's still catching them. I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that is because we had this question not too long ago, and a buddy of mine, Mike Russell, is a crankbait geek, and I think that's what he said. It was black back or chartreuse black back. It's the number one selling color of all time. Of course, it's been around for a long time too. That's an old school color, but just like the black and blue worm, it still works. It's kind of a timeless color. It just works.
There's a lot of those baits that are already forgotten about though too. I mean, you got all these baits that catch fishermen, not fish.
Well, that's like the did you ever throw like a purple worm with a pink tail or a red tail, like a fire tail? You remember that color? Yeah. Like in the 80s, maybe? Or not. I definitely throw a lot of purple. Yeah. I mean, purple's a great color. I throw it in brush hog. I throw it in a lot of finesse worms. I mean, I definitely like purple. And June bugs is it's kind of like a purple. It's a little different, but I'll throw a lot of June bug. And then you got Bama bug, which is half green pumpkin, half June bug. That's one of my favorite colors. I'm just as bad as everybody else when it comes to, getting the baits that the tackle stores want to sell us, right? All you really need is green pumpkin, probably, but in June bug, I think you gotta have to. I like June bug.
I'll take my black and blue. I'll take my black and blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? There's some people that say those fish can't see the color, but I'm fortunate to where I've had a lot of people in my boats over a lot of years, and you will see where fish do prefer a certain color certain days. I'm not saying it's all the time, but I mean, for those guys that say, oh, it doesn't matter, they can't see 15 feet down, it does matter. You just need to have more people in your boat, because there'll be some guy in the back of your boat that doesn't have as much experience or maybe not doing things right, but it's the right color, and they'll whoop you. And then you learn, and you don't forget that lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've got a real serious question on here from Brock. He says, if Jack could fish with a third eye or a third arm, which would he pick?
Okay.
Yeah, you got to use your brain now.
Yeah. I mean, that live scope, that's like a third eye. I know that, man. That live scope's awesome. I've recently, shout out to Garmin, man. They've been helping me with a big problem I had with my black box. And, man, they got me all taken care of now, and it's wonderful. My live scope and my vision underneath the water has never been so good. I can't wait to get it out there and really, find the brush piles and find the fish. And just in the last few days, it's really helped me out a lot. But, I mean, a third arm, that'd be pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of baits I want to throw right now. I want to throw the chatter bait because it's caught fish. I want to throw the jerk baits, and it's every bait in your arsenal right now can catch them.
Well, the third eye would only be helpful on your Garmin Live Scope if it was like a chameleon. It could work itself, and you could focus on what you're doing out here and what you're doing down here. So,
yeah, I'm thinking of how you can net. You can net your own fish probably easier with the third arm somehow. I'm thinking you'd have better rod. You could swing it in, but still net the fish.
I have enough coordination problem with 2 arms and 2 eyes and 2 legs.
Yeah,
I don't need another appendage hanging out there trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, that's a weird question, but I mean,
lighten the mood a little bit.
Time of year where things can be very, like, you can go out there and really smash them at times, and then you could go out there 2 days later and you're like, man, what is the deal here? These fish have got lockjaw. That time frame is going to be coming up here pretty soon. Hopefully it doesn't happen during the weekends when everybody's in town.
Well, you can be the fall fishing is you can be the hero or the zero, one of the two. And they can come in the same day. They can come in back-to-back days. So,
especially for that 2-day BFL coming up this weekend, there's going to be, some guy out there with a quality bag of like 16 pounds, way up there, juices are flowing. He's excited to go for tomorrow, and everything's setting up perfect. The weather's perfect. The spots, we're pretty much left alone. Didn't have a lot of competition out there. And then he's going to come in with 1 fish. And that, that could be me. I'm not fishing this coming weekend, but I mean, it could be anybody is what I'm saying. I mean, it could be, the best fisherman on this lake right now is Marcus Sikora. It could be anybody. It's just fall fishing could be very strange like that. Yeah.
Here's a turnover question.
The spring is much more consistent, even though you have a lot more drastic cold fronts in the spring. This time of year, they actually like cold fronts, but the fall could just be challenging, and they just, I don't know, sometimes they just stop feeding for a few days.
Yeah, they're you're right, man. They're moving a lot, it seems like. Even on small lakes around here, we fish a lot of smaller lakes, and it seems like they're just, well, maybe they just shut down. Maybe that's what it is. But it seems like you're always, they're not in one spot. You might catch them on this secondary point one day, and then you already know where they're going to be at. Next time you go fishing, you go there, and it's game over. And they've moved back further in the cove or back further in the creek, and you kind of like start all over every day almost. I mean,
yeah, you got to get out there. I mean, you got to keep a real open mind. If you can get a good bite this weekend, if you can get like a 4-pound fish to bite your stuff and get you going in a direction, hopefully that's the right direction to go, because each day can be different as far as what they're wanting, and you got to be able to make that adjustment very quickly and keep going that direction, and hopefully it's the right direction, because it's just, you're right, things change very quickly, and it's just because you caught them on this 2 or 3 days ago does not mean that it's the proper thing to do today, because they could move from the back of the coast to the main lake, back and forth. They could be on wood one day, completely leave wood alone the next day, and be on rock, and be on the outside of the docks versus the inside of the docks. It's challenging, it's frustrating, and I guess that's why we like it.
A guide's life is tough, man. Trying to get your clients on fish this time of year,
I know
it would be tough. I got a lot of respect for. I think about that every time I go out, and in fact, some of my videos I've had this conversation with some of the guys I'm fishing with. It comes up on a day where it's kind of tough, or maybe there'll be a lull in a day, a couple hour period where it's like you're just not getting any feedback. I've said many times, man, it would be tough being a guide and having your business being putting people on fish or just some fish and just making sure that they have a good time. But ultimately, most people want to go out and catch some fish, and some days it's tough just to catch some fish. So I got a lot of admiration for you, man. It's something I can only imagine.
Being truthful with you, it's a nightmare half the time. I mean, I've thought about quitting I don't know how many times, and I've done this since 2003, so I've got some experience under my belt. And even before that, I was still tournament fishing and worked in the fishing business for a lot of years before I started guiding, and it's still a big challenge. I mean, it's still hours of preparation, game planning, different parts of the lake, And then, you never know what kind of skill set your people are going to have. So it's very challenging. If you know what kind of skill set they've got, that makes a big difference. And, but yeah, this time of year when we got to compete with all the tournament fishermen, it gets extra tough. That's why I'm going to start taking off a bunch of weekends here coming up pretty soon, because it's just been burnt out.
I can only imagine. We got one more question for you, and then we'll let you go. Todd wants to know, when a lake has experienced a turnover, do you notice a big difference in the activity in the shallows? And how do you adjust to the fall turnover when it happens?
Well, it's tough. It's one of the most challenging times to fish a lake of any kind. The answer is you run around to find somewhere that either is already turned over or hasn't turned over yet. This is a pretty darn big lake. You could drive 1 hour one way, another hour another way, and hopefully try to get away from that turnover water is one good thing to do. And the other answer is you go extra, extra shallow, or you go extra, extra deep. So, for whatever reason, you're fishing 38 feet of water out there, which is pretty darn deep for this lake. And that seems to be where they end up, or you end up in, like a foot or less. That's how you battle the turnover. But it's a difficult thing. A lot of times the shad will still be active though. I mean, you'll still see some activity. You'll still see some blowups, and you'll still see some active shad high up in the water column. Yeah.
So just to piggyback on that, would you say, I know this is one of those questions where there's no right answer probably, but do you have a tendency to slow down or use something that's more of like a reaction bait in that situation?
Well, if I was going to go deep, I'd go slower kind of. But no, my first tendency would go extra shallow, go shallower than everybody else.
Okay. So something moving or something flipping and pitching, that type of thing.
Well, both. I mean, but I'd be turning up mud with my trolling motor. Okay. That's the main thing. And it's going to happen, it kind of depends on when it's going to happen. I think things might be a little bit late this year, just because it's been so warm so late. I mean, I saw people swimming and tubing in the lake today. Feels like it's going to be late, but normally speaking, it's usually around mid-October. So I think it might be like maybe just a little bit later than that this year. I think the good news is, this coming weekend, you definitely got no problems with it for the BFL. And the next weekend during the Big Bass Bash, you got no problems for it. So water temperature's going to have to drop a fair amount before it becomes a problem. Okay. Well, that's good. It's good we won't have to deal with that. And don't those boaters know that they're supposed to put their boats in the dock after Labor Day? Or
no kidding. No kidding.
I know, man. It's like this past Saturday, there was some sort of poker run thing going back and forth, and a bunch of racing boats and big cruiser boats. And man, because during the week right now, it's really very, very quiet, and it's pretty much a ghost town, and that kind of spoils you. You're like, hey, man, I can actually drive, 6-7 miles a day without getting my brains beaten in, and then, and then you get used to that, and then Friday or Saturday comes around again, and you're like, oh, gotta trim down, baby.
Yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Go slow.
Do you guide throughout the entire summer season?
Yeah.
And on into the winter, do you guide all year round for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, it'll slow down a lot for me. November, December, January, February, and then March gets pretty darn busy again. But I still take people out, in December. I mean, you just got to dress for it. This is such a big lake. It takes forever for that water temperature to cool down. So, I mean, we'll still be throwing crankbaits and topwaters in the beginning part of December. And that's like one of my favorite. I tend to do a lot more crappie trips during the colder months, which they're starting to bite, which is pretty good. I'm kind of excited about that. I'm not a huge crappie fisherman, but we caught a lot of crappie today. So that's kind of a sign of fall. And it's a sign of things that are changing, because I really wasn't catching crappie before, over the last, month and a half, 2 months or something like that. I wasn't really targeting them, but I wasn't really catching them when I would. And And so, yeah, things are changing, and yeah, I'll try to take people out. I mean, this is my job, so I gotta keep the lights on, you know.
Yeah, hopefully it won't freeze up this year like it did last year. Jeez, that was kind of a shocker.
Yeah, that was definitely difficult to work around for a little bit, but it was short, you know. I mean, there's, you know, for me, when I'm taking people out guiding, I don't necessarily have to stay on the lake. I can go down on the river below Bagnell Dam. I can go somewhere else, you know, that's in the vicinity of this area, generally speaking. And we can usually find some open water. I can't think of – it's probably happened where I've had to cancel a guide trip, but I can't think of any guide trip right now that we've had to cancel because of ice. There's been times where we've had to, like, postpone our start time. We're not – you know, instead of starting at 7 a.m., we start at 11 a.m. because it's February and it's this cold or whatever. But, you know, usually if we're going to get ice, it's usually about January 15th through February 15th or something like that. So it's you know, it's a month or so that you got to worry about it a little bit. But it's, you know, if you get really cold early in the season, like the 9-arm might freeze up, or, you know, the Gravois arm might freeze up in that first part. And then the main lake probably won't freeze up at that time because it's still downward trend. Water temperature still like 43 degrees or so. And then the opposite will happen about February 15th, where the rivers are starting to warm up a little bit then, but then the main lake is starting to, you know, dip down to its lowest point where it'll be 38 degrees, and then you get that frost in the morning, or that you get that skim ice in the morning. But, you know, it usually is not a big problem here. It can be at times, but, you know.
Yeah, it's good you got that tail race. I forgot about that. That's always going to be open. I mean, you're always going to be able to go on the backside of the dam and do some fishing.
Yeah.
As long as it's not
pretty good down there at times too.
Yeah. Well, cool, Jack. We'll let you go. I was going to ask you if people want to know how to get a hold of you for a guide trip. I always like to ask the guests this. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, fishinglake.theozarks.com is my website. So try to remember that, fishinglake.theozarks.com.
fishinglake.theozarks.com. Yeah, and I'll put that in the description box in this video. So if you guys are watching the playback, you'll know how to find Jack. If you're looking to get on the water with somebody that's got some experience, like you said, you've been doing it since 2003. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah, that qualifies as a lot of experience in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, but
he's got more than 2 waypoints, I promise you.
Yeah, yeah. More than 2 waypoints. He knows the docks to him.
Yeah. There's times I'm like, I've fished every dock you can see around here. We'll be in the middle of some cove. And it's the truth, you know. I mean, it's just there's different patterns for everything, and you know, and at times, you know, throughout the course of the last however many years, it's been on that pattern. So
do you have some of your docks named?
No.
Okay.
I know certain docks a lot better than other docks, but no, I don't have any.
You have some personal relationships with Doc.
I was thinking Old Faithful or 6 Pound Dock or something.
Yeah, I'd say that. I definitely got personal relationships with certain spots. Yeah, that's true. You know, but most of the people I take out are not familiar with anything. So even if I told them the name of this dock or told them the name of this cove, it really wouldn't mean anything to them because they've never seen it before. And it's probably the first time on a bass boat. So,
yeah, well, that's a good thing. You don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. The pirating of the
you two suckers out. You're gonna remember everything.
I forget. I'm bad about that. I'm a great guy to be in the back of the boat because when I get out on the big lake, especially Lake of the Ozarks, it's not like some lakes where there's a few landmarks. There are so many houses. I mean, you probably don't realize this because you're so used to it, but somebody that hasn't been out in the lake much, it all kind of looks the same. I mean, I know the bridges, you know, when you go under the bridge, I know the stuff that's close to that bridge, and then the big arms, maybe the stuff that's close to that. But if you're just in the, like, between, you know, you go under, 54 bridge and you're going up towards the dam, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in that area, a lot of little sidearms, a lot of little coves and stuff. And to me,
and they all got docks in them.
They all got docks, and a lot of it looks alike. But each time I go down there, I kind of pick up a few more landmarks just so I know where I'm at. I kind of start paying attention to that a little bit more. But yeah, I'm the guy in the back of the boat that could probably never find the place where we were fishing at the next day.
Well, just remember that one really big bass was by that one house. It was a big house, and it had a big dock out in front of it. It was next to that point. It was right there, man.
Yeah, it was next to the $5 million home. That place has got so many big houses.
I know.
It's unbelievable. Jeez. So, all right, man, we'll let you go. Good luck in the morning. I hope you get on them. And once again, man, it's been great hanging out with you. It's good to catch up with you. And thanks for sharing your evening or a little bit of your time with us.
Thank you guys. This cold front, I mean, I'm excited. I imagine everybody's got to be excited for this cold front to come. Yeah,
I'm tired of sweating every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to put a hoodie on. I just want to go out and put a hoodie on.
Yeah,
you know,
and not sweat. Because I've seen a lot of people in hoodies that it should not be in hoodies.
Not a sun hoodie,
No.
an actual, a real hoodie.
Yeah, that's what this is. This is my sun hoodie, man. I wear this thing all the time lately. I mean,
I love them.
Off of you.
I love them, man. I quit wearing. You don't have to put sunscreen on your arms anymore. You just and then the back of your neck. You don't have to worry about that. It's awesome, man. Anybody on here that does not have a sun hoodie, highly recommend a sun hoodie. I got like 5 of them now. I started out with 2, and now I keep expanding every year.
Are they all the same color too?
There's a couple of them that are real similar.
Okay.
But okay.
Real quick here, guys. I found this. I forget what the name of this brand is, but it was like $13 on Amazon and
Really?
$13.50. So we bought a handful of them, and like you said, they're awesome. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for a fishing guide trip on Lake of the Ozarks, check out fishinglake.com. You can find me on Facebook, on Bass and Bob. You can find me through Margaritaville Resort. My phone number is area code 573-434-2570. You can call me, text me, whatever.
All right.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, Jack. You have a good evening, and I'll be even better tomorrow.
All right, guys. I'm going to go catch them. See you.
Thanks, Matt.
See you, buddy. Good stuff. Like we said, man, if you need a guide down there, he's the man. Really good dude. You guys
got a little bit of
him.
experience.
Yeah. Let's catch up on some of these questions real quick, and then we're gonna jump into some fall fishing stuff. Let me see here. If you guys asked a question at the beginning of the show and we didn't answer, which we didn't get to many of them, ask it again. That way we'll get to it. I'm just gonna kind of scroll up real quick, and then we're gonna dive into some techniques here. Let me see here. Just kind of scrolling through. I like talking out loud. I'm explaining what I'm doing.
Yeah, so
I'm scrolling through.
You don't have
comments.
the random silence.
Oh yeah, are we gonna do a giveaway?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think we can do a giveaway.
Can we?
I got a bit. Do you see that box of stuff that Isaac sent me?
Is that the one that I had to move when I got in
He
here?
just sent that to me.
Good Lord.
It's for giveaway
If it
stuff.
fits, it ships, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you work for the? I mean, is this a shameless plug?
Yeah, United States Postal Service. Yeah. We need
It's brought
more
to you by
advertising
United.
for. No, it's not. That was Lance Armstrong.
Sorry, I'm going through the goodie box since I showed up late.
Ken's talking about the jerkbait bite. I keep throwing the jerkbait a little bit. It hasn't really started happening for me down here. I don't know if anybody on here that is in the southeast Missouri and southern Illinois area has got on a good jerkbait bite yet.
I don't think that water temperature's there.
We're still, Ken, we're still like, I know you can catch them all year long, but we're still like 80. It's dropped down to 78, but it was back up to 80, 81 yesterday. And the fish, they're schooling up. There's some schooling activity depending on which lake you're on.
If you catch that schooling activity, you can definitely catch them on that jerkbait.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. I don't think it wouldn't be my go-to. I tell you that if they're schooling up, I'm gonna throw a big spook. Because I can just cast it like 30 or 40 yards farther. When you're throwing a 1 ounce spook. I mean,
exactly. Brock, by the way, man, that was a good question, man. That was fun. That was fun. T. Harris says, burn a Demiki vault through those bait balls and hold on. And I saw Ron DeRosa said something about a little blade bait, just something real small, which is
something that's typically thrown when it gets super, super cold.
Yes. Yep.
So I don't even know if I own a blade bait. I know you got a couple of them.
I do. I throw them periodically. You know, the time I really saw when it made a difference was me and Jerry were fishing the winter tournament last year, or maybe it was this year, January, February, something like that, on Cedar.
Mm-hmm.
And the jerkbait bite was off. And he picked up a blade bait and was just kind of hopping it off the bottom in
Like stroking it?
38-degree water.
Really?
Yeah. And he caught several fish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they were committing to that. It was crazy.
At least a way to keep you warm when it's
exactly. And you know, with this forward-facing sonar, people are learning that even in cold water, bass are still really active. They're still moving around. They don't move
as slow as we think they do.
Right. So they have no problem.
I still think they move slow because, again, we don't have forward-facing sonar.
Right.
Yet.
See, Eric said he sent me a Cinco color on my phone. Let's see here. We're about to the bottom of this stuff, and then we'll start talking about, yeah, Ken, the old jelly worm. It still sells at Walmart, the big one.
Mm-hmm. I think Dad bought a couple of them the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ken said he can use some jigs crawls. Sun shirt from Bull King. I've been buying the AFCO. I think it's called the Samurai hoodie, and it fits me right. That's the thing with clothing. If you find something that fits right, you better buy a couple more of them, because as soon as it tears up, you go back to buy and it's gone. Mm-hmm. Happens every time. What's up, Fab? Good to see you on here, man. So let's dive into some fall fishing. I wrote down just so we would have a list to look at, just some ideas. So frog and toad, underspin, squarebill, spinnerbait, buzzbait, topwater, jerkbait. And you guys on here, as we kind of go through some of these, if you have questions, or if you have questions right now, we're at the bottom of the question. We've got question list, comment section, whatever. Leave them on there, and we'll dive into something deeper. If you've got questions about, a technique, we'll certainly go down a little rabbit hole with you. So I'm trying to think of what is most relevant at the moment. So let's start with, I want to start with punching, because it's getting there. It's so close. I mean, I keep trying to make it happen.
I've been fortunate for a month, and it's still, I've caught one or two doing it. I haven't caught a lot.
Right.
But I think right now it's so area driven. If you get in the right stretch, the right 100-yard stretch, you could fill out a limit and look like a hero, but you could fish for 3 hours, 4 hours, and never get a bite until you hit that area. So
that's right. What's up, Cody? Good to see you on. I see somebody, Hellabass mentioned the timber tiger. That's actually one of the baits I was going to talk about.
Is it?
Yeah. Let's talk about school. Let's just talk about, no, let's stay with punching. We kind of warmed up punching. Okay. So here's the deal with punching. This is what I found out. Hashtag no pro here, but this is just from the last 5 years. I probably started maybe 3 years. I kind of started taking punching a lot more seriously. I'd done it 5-6 years ago, but I didn't really look for that bite and really start analyzing it and breaking it down. And it's one of those techniques that I spent a lot of time doing it about 3 years ago. Probably that every time I went to the lake in the fall, I was looking for that bite. And even like post spawn, when that grass started to come up, I was looking for that bite. So it's a technique that I've been playing around with quite a bit the last couple of years. So I feel like I have a little bit of an idea of how it works and what to look for. So first of all, I don't know how nerdy we want to get about this, but I feel like you need a little bit longer rod, like something 7/6 or more.
I don't think that's nerdy at all, because I think that was one thing I was going to say. The setup for me was the most important, because that's what took me so long to get into punching. Mm-hmm. I never had the right setup. The rod was always too heavy or too stiff, or there was something wrong, and it wasn't ever comfortable in my hand. So until I finally found a rod and the baits that I like throwing, that's when it became another tool in my bag. Mm-hmm. And not until I got that rod. Now, to each your own on your rods, but when I remember, well, I guess my first thought on punching was you got to have a pool cue. You got to have the stiffest rod that they make, and that's the only way you're going to get them out of there. But in my opinion, that's total bull.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I want a rod that's got a good load on it and a good backbone.
That's key. That's what I was getting ready to say. You're fit, just like any rod that you're fishing braid with, you don't need near as heavy of a rod as if you're fishing fluorocarbon or mono, which I don't think very many people fish mono, but fluorocarbon. So my opinion is you want a rod that's got a little bit of a softer tip for sure, because you don't need a real stiff rod with the braid. And
you're going to be more accurate on your punching.
You're going to be more accurate with your flips. But I think you keep those fish pegged up more. If you've got a really stiff rod, that sounds funny. If you're
you had to go there, didn't you?
Sideways. If you don't have enough give on the end of your rod tip, then that fish can more likely throw slack in your rod, and slack close quarters with braid and a big hook is not good. You're going to lose a lot of those fish. So 7.6 to 7.11, you can punch with a 7.4 if you've got the right action, but I don't know, in my opinion, you need a little bit longer rod. And it kind of helps, when you hook up with that fish, you're in that deep vegetation, you're reeling down, and you can pull that fish to you with a rod. I think a longer rod, you can move that fish
more leverage.
It's more leverage, because there's no playing the fish in the grass. You set that hook and you get them in the boat as fast.
It's about 3 reel cranks and then they hit the carpet.
Yeah. So I think the equipment is key for sure. I like a 7. I don't know. I either 6.4 or 7-to-1 gear ratio. I don't think you want an 8-to-1. You lose too much torque. I wouldn't go below 6.4 because you need a little bit of speed for multiple reasons.
I think personally 6.4, 7.1, that's your go-to. I've been looking for a good 6.4. I'm punching with a 7 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice when you get that big one and you hit him and he doesn't move, you notice because I've punched with an 8, you can't turn the reel handle. It will not turn. I don't care how big of a bad man you are, you're not turning that reel handle unless you give him slack and you reel down on him. You have to hit him and get turning. But again, that helps with the long rod. But 6.4, 7.1, I'm a 65-pound braid.
I like 50. Yeah. So somewhere 50 to 65-pound braid. Whatever brand. I've used Power Pro forever. I haven't had any problems with it. There's a lot of good braid out there. But green, something moss green.
Yep.
And I don't tie. Have you flipped with the fluorocarbon leader?
No.
Have you tried it? No. I did it, and I ended up breaking a big fish off. Of course, I was tying I think I was actually tying. It was either the double blood knot or
double uni,
or the Alberto. And it's something I've learned with the Alberto. It's not a good shock knot. I can't tie the FG knot. So anyway, just straight braid most of the time is going to be.
Well, I mean, typically when you're punching, you're flipping in grass.
You're fishing grass.
Braid, it's going to look like a piece of grass hanging down.
Yeah, and okay, so that reminds me of something else. We'll kind of get into the actual business side of this thing. My opinion, and I'm curious about your opinion, is throw the lightest weight that you can that penetrates the mat, without a lot of effort. And I was punching with a 1 ounce weight yesterday at Kincaid, and I kept thinking this several times that I should have dropped down to probably a 3/8 or a half, because I didn't need
3/4 or 3/8.
3/8.
Really?
I think I could have. I was flipping with a quarter later with that speed crawl, and it was almost going through. So I think I could have got by with a 3/8. And I don't know that I would have caught any fish, because I don't think there were a lot of fish up in that grass yet. But that's an adjustment that I should have done and should have tried. But for some reason, I had I got a 7'11" rod, and I got 50-pound braid, and I just feel like I need to be throwing a 1 ounce weight, man. Right. This is a manly rod. I don't want to put like a little 3/8 ounce weight on there.
Right.
But I should have tried that. So try, in my opinion, the lightest weight that you can get through the mat is what I found works best.
I think a lot of times for me, I'm trying to get better at that. That's one thing that I'm working on is changing weights up and not just picking up the old 3/8 or the old ½ ounce or the old 1 ounce for punching. But I mean, in my punch arsenal, I got anywhere from a 3/4 all the way up to a 2 ounce weight from when we went to Chickamauga a couple years ago. And I think you have a point, but you got to let the fish tell you what they want on that. Because sometimes if that mat's got plenty of holes in it, it's wide open, you could punch a 3/8 through it. Sometimes they want that 1 ounce to just hit the bottom. It's more of that reaction bite that Jack was talking about a while ago, especially when we get in that, when they're really in the mat. I mean, I don't know what kind of getting progressing here, but when I'm punching, it's a punch in, hop, pull out, punch in, hop, pull out. I very seldom soak it. I know you pull it up to the top of the mat a lot, and you'll shake it on top of the mat.
At the bottom of the mat, under
mat bait.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's here. But a lot of times I don't do that a lot. Probably should do it more, but I haven't experienced that bite where it was just happening. And if that was happening, I could probably catch them on some sort of top water frog bait. And I'd rather throw a frog than a punch just for fatigue. You punch all day and an arm is going to get tired.
Yeah, so that goes back to having finding a comfortable rod.
Right.
You know, most of your rods over 7.6 can be heavy if you buy a cheaper rod. I got this Hawgz Custom Light. This has been a great punching rod, and they're I'm not sponsored by Hawgz, obviously, but I just like these rods, and they're really, really light. This has been a great punching rod. It's got good action, and it does what it's supposed to do. So yeah, like he said, sometimes that bite is as soon as you punch through that mat, they grab it. A lot of times I think they're suspended under the mat. They're either up against the bottom of the mat or they're just kind of a little bit off of it, and they'll grab it right when it punches through. And then sometimes they're sitting lower in the mat, or they may follow it down, and then that's when you get your bite on the bottom. And then sometimes you have to pull it up and just kind of bang it on the bottom of the mat from underneath, and you'll draw some bites like that. So you just kind of got to experiment. As far as the hook, now we differ on this, and I'm not really staunch about the straight shank hook. I think either the wide gap or the straight shank is good, but I've been using just a straight shank hook, typically anywhere from a 3 to 4 hook. I don't use a 5 really.
Sneller, Palmer.
I use a San Diego jam knot.
Okay, I'm sorry, you're San Diego.
Yeah, I use a San Diego jam knot on everything. It's funny with this live stream, we've asked that question, and there's not as many people snell as what I thought. A lot of people just use a Palomar or whatever their normal knot of choice is. Their favorite knot.
Traditional knot. For
different reasons. I know when we had Matt Steffen on here, he was talking about not snelling, and he kind of went into this, the science behind it. And Keith Carson, the same way. The cam action, he says sometimes he feels like it hooks him in the tongue. And if you've ever hooked a fish in the tongue, it's like 50-50 shot, probably like 75% shot you're going to lose that fish. Right. I don't know why, but they seem like they die almost every time. So you definitely don't want to be.
I know what turned me off about snelling a knot is last spring, we had this mat come over the pond that's at my house, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to go stand on my dock and punch and try some new things out, because there was plenty of fish in there. There wasn't a lot of giants or anything there, but getting bites and how that bait hooked up was my key. And I snelled, took a straight shank 3/0 gammy, snelled it, put it on a bait, flipped it out there, and 5 out of the 5 fish I caught, every one of them was hooked in the bottom jaw. Never had one hooked in the nose of the mouth. Now, was it a fluke and I just hit 5 bad shots in there? I don't know, but I went down there later that day with a 3/0 EWG Superline, and every one of them was pinned in the nose. So it's kind of that 50-50. Do you want to take that chance to hook them in the tongue? Because I don't. If I'm tournament fishing, I want to make sure that my fish are healthy and alive.
I think if you're not missing fish,
Yeah.
If you start missing fish, then you may want to look at your hook, possibly. A lot of times it's maybe your hook set. Well, it can be a number of things, but one thing that you may want to do. I always look at the hook first to make sure you got a big enough gap for the plastic. If you got a thick bait, you want to make sure you got plenty of gap to come out that plastic and get in the fish's mouth.
That's the one thing I do like about the straight shank is when it comes out of the plastic, it's all hook.
Yep. But if you get a real heavy straight shank, it's a pretty heavy gauge hook, and it puts a big hole.
Yeah.
So that's where your rod with a little bit of parabolic action and not getting any slack in the line comes into play. Because if you've got a rod that doesn't have any play in it and you're fishing like a big heavy duty gauge hook, it's putting a big old hole. That barb is huge, and you'll lose fish, especially if you get any kind of slack. You got a big old weight. The bigger the weight, the more likelihood that you can lose that fish. And we can talk about how the weight blows the fish's mouth out, but we're already into this pretty far. So let's kind of make a curve and come back around.
We may have to do two fall segments.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to. But falls, we got 3 months of fall, so
I know. I was gonna talk about the bite of that punch. That was my hardest thing to get used to, because it's not a jig bite, it's not a worm bite. It's not your typical. For me at least, it's not that typical bottom bite. It's but you got to get used to throwing a 1 ounce weight and heavy braid and throwing it in the junk. For me, it was more just I just when it hits the bottom, I pull up on it and I just feel, just let it sit there for a little bit and see if there's anything on it. If not, shake it a couple times. Sometimes you'll get that nice slack line thump and you can hit them, and other times it's just a slow pull. My biggest problem at that point is, like all fishermen, I want to hit them. I'm mad at them. Yeah,
here's a good point. Kyle says the only time he goes over an ounce is with the slither rig. Yeah, because that slither rig's a little bit wider. It's got a lot more drag, and you need a little bit heavier weight to get it down in there. That's a good point. Luckily we don't have around here. We don't have much where you need more than an ounce. Sometimes an ounce and a quarter. If you're punching that cheese, the moss, not even the cheese, but that actually moss stuff,
right?
It takes almost an ounce and a half to get through it.
I've had a couple days over at Cedar, and that really, really, when it's fall, and I'm talking like the heat of fall, where a 1 ounce will not go through. But usually you can finesse it and work it in that hole, and once you punch through that first layer, it goes to the bottom pretty quick.
Yeah,
I just don't like fighting it over and over and over again. And once I start fighting it, that's when I jump up another weight.
Todd says he has a hard time using heavy weights. Hard to feel the fish over the weight. In that same situation where you're fighting to get that bait to go through, I've had fish roll up on the bait, like a little bluegill sitting on one top of the mat. Yep.
That he got chased out by something, and now he's just flopping up there.
And that happens. Ken says 60% of my bites come on the pull down, shaking just below the mats. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, some days it's really hard to feel that punch and bite. First of all, you're in grass, so you're pulling against things all the time. There's resistance all the time. It's not like you're fishing, just a rock bank, and all you feel the rock and then you feel the tick. You got to really get in tune with what's going on, and some days you're more in tune than others. And a lot of times it can be just a little mush bite, and that's all you get. Sometimes it's just a little pull, and then sometimes they swim off with it. Sometimes it's real obvious. So
be a line watcher too.
A line watcher, yeah, sure.
Because I've had a lot of times where it goes down through that mat, and you watch that line just snap.
Let's jump through a couple baits real quick, and then we'll move on to the next topic.
Punching baits.
Punching baits. I kind of break it down into three things: a crawl, or a beaver, or a tube. That's kind of the way I do it. So for a crawl, a rage crawl, and I usually keep it simple. I'm looking at two colors. I'm looking at a black and blue or June bug, something that's dark, and then something that's green pumpkin. And I really think it's that simple. you know, you can just let the fish tell you what they want. And that's the same, let the fish tell you what color they want and also what action they want. But a crawl, you know, this is a rage crawl. Another crawl that I've had really good success with over the last year is the Gambler burner crawl. You know, I watched a lot of Mikey Balls. And
that doesn't have as much drag on it as the.
No, it's smaller. It's got smaller flippers on it. It's a little bit smaller profile. But this color is called Killer G. So this has got a little bit of that blue and the green pumpkin, kind of Okeechobee crawlish, you know. It's got some kind of a brownish green pumpkin. So that's your crawls. Then, you know, on the creature bait side of things, just a beaver, you know, a sweet beaver. You know, it's pretty standard. You can throw a D-bomb into the same category. You know, and I'm putting a 4/0 hook on the rage crawl and the beaver and the D-bomb. And then the other bait that I've been throwing around since they came out, I guess it was last year, in, you know, Bass Hawk Live, Matt Pangrack and Bradley Hallman.
It's one of my favorite
kind of designed this bait. And if you haven't gave these a try, Big Bite Baits, the BFE stands for Best Flipper Ever, and it's a tube creature hybrid. It's a really good punching bait.
And it's got a solid body in it. That's what I like about it.
It's got a solid body.
It's not a tube body, but it's got the tube action. So
Tilapia Magic is a really good color. Bedlam, they've got the BTL color, and they've got just straight green pumpkin. They've got a South African special. They've got several. Pretty much all the colors are really good. And you can split this tail right here. It comes with a little notch in it. You can actually take your scissors and cut that if you want that more traditional beaver look. But great flipping bait, great on a Texas rig. Just not punching match, just traditional Texas rig for flipping around. It's good.
It's got great action when it falls. So throwing on that 1/4 ounce weight, throwing on that 3/16 ounce weight, it'll.
Yeah, it's a cool bait, man. It's a different look, and it's just a good little bait. So that's basically, we'll just kind of leave punching right there. The only other baits that I will flip, if I think I should be getting bites punching, and I'm not with this bigger stuff, is sometimes I'll go down to like a speed crawl, you know, like a 3-inch crawl of some sort.
I like that new speed crawl that came out last year.
The Magnum speed crawl, yeah, that's a good one too. I've caught fish punching a baby brush hog, and you can punch it. You can punch a yum dinger. You know, a Cinco is too soft. You'll tear it up after going in and out of that mat. It just doesn't hold. A yum dinger's a little bit more pliable. But you can
get away with a little bit lighter weight then too.
Yeah, you can. You know, but sometimes a stick worm will get you some bites. And then like a baby D-bomb or the Smalley Beaver, something like that. And all those are going to be like on a 3/0 hook. And the other stuff that we showed you is going to be like a 4/0 hook. But that's basically the breakdown. That you're going to start looking for that really soon, like me and Jonathan were talking about. You know, when that water gets in like the low 70s, you know, 72, 73, that's when we usually start seeing the bigger bait make its way into the grass mats. That's about the peak for the grass. It's the most healthy, it's the most green, it's the most matted out that it's going to be. And the water starts cooling off a little bit. It gets better, you know. So 70s like that starting point, and then like low 60s is when you can really, really get good.
For me, it's when the grass becomes active. So when you start hearing the bluegill popping, you start seeing bait, you start seeing the mat, you know, moving with fish swimming in it. You run by in your boat and you see shad come out of the mat. That's when, you know, for fall grass fishing, that's when you know it's right for fall grass fishing. My 1-2 punch, and we'll kind of run through this real quick, for fall grass fishing is a frog and punching.
Yep.
I mean, if it's on, there's only going to be 3 or 4 rods in my boat, and they're all going to be set up with a frog or a punch bait.
If it's full blown mat fishing, that's all you need. I mean, that you need a frog, a couple of different colors of frogs, and a couple different punch rigs. So like you said, 4 rods. You can focus on that all day long. 1
box.
Yeah.
And
4 or 5 bags of plastics.
Yeah.
You know, Well, you better have like 10 bags of plastic.
Yeah, because you get that one bite, and
yeah. And so you can pull into a cove and just shut your boat down, and if you don't want to sit there, you can just put your trolling motor down and kind of maybe fish a little bit and just listen. You'll hear it. It'll just the popcorn that you hear about. Some of the visual things to look for. A lot of times that mat, as it reaches its peak, it starts to get, I think it's an algae, the cheese that you hear about. It gets that algae film on the top, and that's that really thick mat, and that attracts a lot of insect larvae, and the bluegill, the bait fish, and that's what you're hearing. You're hearing the shad, and you're hearing the bait fish or the bluegill sucking all the bugs off the top or underneath the mat, and crawfish.
They get up in the grass and feed on the grass.
So it's a whole cycle of life that's going on, but you'll hear that active mat, and that's the mat that's going to have fish in it. Every once in a while you'll see a blow up, but even if you don't see any blow ups, still fish that mat. And
if it's quiet though, I'm moving on.
Yeah, if it's quiet, yeah, especially when there's when it's on, when they're in there and you're just looking for the right mat. It'll be obvious when you find it, and you'll go through it and you'll catch a fish, and then you'll start getting a feel of kind of what to look for. And as far as location of the mats, the main lake mats typically are the first ones to get hot from what I found. If you can find some of the good main lake mats, and then as the shad and everything starts moving back in the coves a little more, you can expand a little bit. You'll have fish from the back of the coves all the way out to the main lake. A lot of times the back, a little bit later, the back of the cove seems like there's a better concentration of fish back there. You can just run to the back, but then for me, it's been like the main lake stuff kind of starts happening first and then back in. But
the best way to do it is start, for me, either start in the front or the back and really pay attention. Work that, you may just work one side of the cove, work in, see where you got your bites at, mark those waypoints, whatever you got to do to remember it. Go to the next one and do the same thing. Go to the next one, do the same thing. Pretty soon you got a pattern. You know where those fish, the majority of those fish are at. You're going to figure it out real quick that they're either middle, front, or back. And that's where you can really narrow down your search.
Yeah, Billy, I saw you on here. You're welcome, man. It's a great cause. If you guys were on here earlier, Billy is the one that's running the Warrior William Fishing for Warriors 2021 tournament down Lake of the Ozarks, October 9th. It's a great tournament for a great cause. You can look up if you want to find out more information about that.
Did he put a link?
Did he put a link on there?
He might have put a link in. I don't see
I'll put the link in the description box if he didn't put it up there. Or you can actually post it on there, Billy, if you want. But anyway, you can look at Warrior William Foundation and you'll have all the information. It's a great time. So let's move on. We kind of dove into that. We could keep going for an hour on punching. I mean, we really could. We could break it down because there's a lot more to learn, like just locations and stuff. But let's move on to something else. You want to go to something completely different, like
let's go crankbait. Yeah, let's go crankbait.
Okay, let's go crankbait. We're gonna talk a little bit.
I don't think we got enough time for everything we got laid out here tonight.
No, we'll be here till midnight.
Yeah, and I gotta go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe we'll just dive into squarebills a little bit.
Squarebill crankbait.
Yeah, and then we'll touch on some of this other stuff next time.
So obviously, riprap banks, pea gravel, transition areas is what I'm going to be looking for in the fall. And kind of like Jack said earlier, don't ever be afraid to go too shallow, especially this time of the year. We're getting into that time of the year when the water's going to change temperature, things are moving back. I know we talk a lot about grass lakes because that's our primary lake that we fish is grass lakes. And I'll throw a square bill. This is similar to what I was throwing a couple weeks ago. It's like a
2.5
size. This is I don't have any of these, and I really like this color. But throwing it on the edge of the grass, and I'll throw it on a little bit heavier rod just because I'm ripping it out of the grass. So I'm gonna throw it on a fast gear ratio reel, so 7-1. I'm gonna throw it on 15-pound line, and I don't throw it on a cranking rod. I'm going to throw it on a medium heavy smoke, 7 foot, and I'm going to bury it in that grass and I'm going to rip it out. So I'm just targeting the edges of the grass, little points, little cuts, just odd areas in that grass where there may be on the back side of the grass a riprap to pea gravel transition or pea gravel to chunk rock or whatever. I'm just looking for transition areas, but I'm going to target that crankbait in those areas. And a lot of it is depth. So it's not necessarily always a square bill. It may be a 5XD, a 3XD, just enough so I can tick the top of those grass. And once it buries up, I want to be able to rip it out with some heavier line and pause it, get that reaction bite this time of the year. I had good success with that about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I can only imagine that it's just about to get better. But right before they bury up in the grass, they're hanging out on the edges of the grass. So you catch the right day at the right time. And I mean, pay attention. We talk about the bait popping in the grass. You're running along the edge of the grass. You really got to watch for those big gizzards. If you got threadfin in your lake, any kind of bait that's moving in and out of the grass, because they're on the edges of the grass. They're looking for ambush points for their food, their forage too. So it's going to be edges of the grass that I'm going to target on the grass lakes, and then in just the same thing that I would target in the spring. Your laydowns, your transitions, your any kind of difference in the bank where there's going to be an ambush point for bass.
Around here, a lot of these lakes have been rip-wrapped for erosion control.
Yep.
You notice the Kincaid and cedar and stuff. And one of the high percentage areas is where that riprap ends and turns into a natural bank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll have grass up to that. You'll have the riprap. A lot of times you'll have an inside grass edge. You know, there'll be a gap. And a lot of times those fish will sit on that little transition area, like he was saying. You can actually go around. Once you figure out that fish are on that stuff, you can just run around the lake and just kind of target that. So 2.5 or the 1.5, you know, what do you, I know you're throwing the 2.5 the other day.
I was throwing the 2.5 the other day. I know my dad was throwing the 1.5 2 weeks ago or last weekend, maybe. And he had some success on that. Doing the same thing, running it down the grass, running the edges of the grass. I think the big thing is just getting for me, it was the depth. It wasn't necessarily the size of the bait. It was how deep is that going to run? And that 2.5 runs just a hair deeper than the 1.5, especially when I'm throwing 15. So if I'm throwing 15, that 1.5 is getting down to 3-4 foot maybe.
Yeah.
Where I wanted to hit that 6 to 7 foot. That's where the grass kind of topped out at. So that's where I was really concentrating the 2.5 at. So
Kyle says, my theory is that when you're hooking them in the tongue, that you are late on the hook set. He said he switched to a moderate fast action, but went up in power and started hooking them in the top more. That may be something. I don't know. A lot of times I just think it's the way they grab the bait in the mouth and the way that bait is sitting. I mean, if they suck it in and the bend is at the top of their mouth, like the roof of their mouth, and the hook point is right against their tongue, and when you set, you're encouraging that hook point to go into their tongue or to the bottom of their mouth.
If it's snell,
but I think even you got to think of the angle. You know, you're at let's say you're making if you're punching, a lot of times you're not making more than like a 10-foot cast. So
right.
You're pretty vertical. But if that hook point is facing the tongue, it's going to catch that tongue as soon as you pull it.
Right.
But I think if the bait is flipped up the other way, where the bend is down and the hook point is in the roof of the mouth, when you set,
somebody needs to come up with a bait cam, a weight cam, or something like that.
I think a hook cam would be interesting to see what's really going on in there.
Right.
But yeah, that's an interesting theory, Kyle. Yeah, so square bills, obviously, it's a great way to cover water, and that's one of the keys in fall is covering water. You can still catch them soaking in an area, but a lot of times the best way to attack fall is to cover water until you find an area that's holding fish, because the fish they're in transition. They really start locking in on the shad, so they're moving around. They're following the bait fish, and putting a square bill in your hand, and some of the other techniques that we were going to talk about for covering water are key to locate those fish. Another bait I want to show you guys real quick. This is a really cool square bill hybrid type bait. This is a timber tiger. These were really hot in, I want to say, like you probably missed that. This is before you, man. This was a big deal in, I want to say, the late 80s or early 90s. I'm not 100% sure the time frame, but that I think that's when I started finding out about these. So look at that bill design. It's really, really unique. It's got these, you can see these fins right here, these side fins. This is a 4x4. What this bait does, I think they still sell them. If I encourage you to go buy one, just spend whatever they are and buy one. It's amazing. So what this thing does is it actually rolls, these hooks are sharp, on its back and comes over wood.
Really?
It's crazy, dude. It will actually get.
Does it true up then?
Yeah, and it trues up. It'll get 180. You gotta see it to believe it. But something about these side fins right here encourages it to hit and then roll up. It's probably one of the most snag resistant square bills that I've ever thrown, and it catches fish. It floats really high. It's got an interesting, it's not really overbearing, just enough the fish can pick up on it. Got a really unique action, but I think it's one of those baits that not a lot of people throw. I mean, I know it's a bait that not a lot of people throw, and I've got a bunch of them, and I'll pick them. I'll put them in the boat for a while and throw them around, catch a few fish, and then I don't fish a crankbait a whole lot, but I do know that this is a very unique bait. The colors, they're not flashy. They've got the basic hues. Actually, I like this one a lot. It's got a gray. I like a gray crankbait. It's got the black back. It's got the kill dot on it. It's got the red gill plates. It's got an eye in there. Nothing fancy. It's not like your 6 cents or your mega bass. It doesn't have that really, really over the top paint job. But a lot of times I think that is probably for us more so than the fish. I think there's, talking with Mike Russell from Bag 5 Baits, he has been painting baits forever, and he really understands hard bait colors and the contrast and the flash of the roll, and probably the main thing to look for on a crankbait is the back, the side, and the belly, because it's doing this, and you're getting the back, and you're getting the belly, then you're getting the back, and you're getting your belly. So that contrast between all three of these positions on the crankbait is the deal. It's not so much how pretty it is, it's how does the bait contrast. And people that are crankbait fishermen have been doing it for a while. They can just pick a bait up and they can say, hey, it doesn't really matter what the finish looks like. They can just look at the contrasting colors and tell you if it's going to work or not. But cool bait.
I'll just go through some of the comments here.
Did we miss some stuff? Or
shout out to Addison Eggerson on winning the ITT Classic on Pickwick. Yeah, brand new 518. That's awesome.
Man, we got some good fishermen in this area.
Gosh, I know.
Some really good fishermen. Young Trey McKinney. He won the points division and the line eye division of the BFLs. He's 16 years old. He actually fished at Kincaid. I talked to him. He's going to come on the live stream sometime and just kind of break down his season. But, these Southern Illinois, Southeast Missouri fishermen, Lake of the Ozarks, that area is just full of sticks. Southern Illinois, full of sticks. It's just a breeding ground for good quality fishermen. It's amazing. So, yeah, we love it when the local folks represent the area. I'm not from Southern Illinois. I feel like I am sometimes because we fish over there so much. And we're only 10 miles away. Right. So, yeah.
I say that every year, Todd. I really do. We got to be patient. It's coming. I promise. Water's got to drop down a little bit.
Oh, it seems like the grass. Yeah, it is. You're right. It changes every year. You just never know. And it gets in different places.
Uh-oh. Uncle Ron.
Sounds
like Uncle Ron needs to come on.
He hasn't been on the live stream in a long time. He's probably due. He needs to come on and tell us how to catch a 7-pound bass.
Oh, do we know what he caught it on?
I got a pretty good idea.
I do too.
I won't talk about it, but I got a pretty good idea. I think he caught it on a weedless Ned rig. That's just my wild guess. Probably on 10-pound braid, 10-pound floor. Ned rig, flipping it around the grass.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
A little relaxed flashback.
You guys got any questions out there? I know I'm going through here. We got some, and it's about to bounce. There it goes.
Yeah, somebody said it looks like a speed trap. It's similar. It's similar. It's a pretty cool bait. They have a couple different versions of them. This one gets down there in about that 5 foot zone, 6 foot zone. They have I think they have a medium one, and they have a deeper diver that's gets down there in that 12 to 14 zone. And you talk about fishing standing timber with the bait down deep and not worrying about getting hung up. It's called a timber tiger for a reason. It comes right through it.
For sure.
Oh, Ron says, designed by Tom Seward and Lewis Jensen, a Southern Illinois boy who Jay Zapp, his mentor, taught to fish. Interesting. Ron's got a lot of good Southern Illinois background history information. There's a lot of baits developed in this.
See, Ron's going to have to come on and talk about fall fishing in about December. That way everybody kind of forgets about it, and Ron can still win those tournaments when he gets back from a lot. So congrats again, Ron.
Yeah. Ron's been on a roll, man. He's been on, I think
he just comes back from, catching 5 and 6 pound smallmouth.
Yep, and goes from browns to greens.
Yeah. Doesn't miss a beat.
He's in the zone, man. He's living right. That's all there is to it. Yeah, that's right. Y'all know it's hard to keep secrets. Yep.
Yeah.
I quit doing it, man. I just share it with you guys. Not that I'm like catching 7-pounders like Ron.
No.
But I promise any of these baits that we showed you tonight is very capable of catching 7-pound fish.
I want to start be showing you guys some stuff too here soon. So.
Yeah, Jonathan's he's got his little YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel started. He's got his cameras going, and
I'm waiting for my cameras to arrive. I got 2 of them on order. One of them is stuck in customs still. It told me
it's in the U.S. though.
It is in the U.S. I'm about to just drive to Louisville, Kentucky, and get it.
So if you guys order stuff, this is coming from United States Postal Worker. You order stuff from China, sometimes it takes a while to get over here.
Yeah. Well, it didn't take very long to get here. It took like a day and a half to get here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's stuck in customs. So I got one that's supposed to be here tomorrow and one that's checked back tomorrow for delivery day. So I've already called. This wasn't USPS, or I would have a connection here. This was UPS. And what can Brown do for you?
Let's talk spinnerbaits real quick.
Okay.
Just really quick.
Okay.
Let's throw this one out there.
Really quick is less than 35 minutes.
No, we're gonna do 7-minute spinnerbait.
7-minute spinnerbait.
Yeah. Okay. So and the reason I said it is because the crankbait and the spinnerbait kind of go hand in hand.
All right, let's go. 3/8, half, 3/4, 1 ounce.
No, I'm talking small spinnerbaits. I'm talking shallow when the fish get up shallow.
Okay.
That's or like this one right here. This is the War Eagle, Screaming Eagle. This is a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait on a 1/4 ounce frame. So all the lead is right here on the shank. So you got that 1/4 ounce profile, smaller blades, but you got a 1/2 ounce.
So you can really burn
it. You can burn it, keep it moving. You can make really long casts for when those fish blow up, and they always seem to blow up too far away.
Sorry, Brock. No
6.5.
Not with this guy.
Man, you know what I did? I did a while ago. My daughter, she's always like fascinated with this pull-up bar I have. Oh, we forgot about that.
We forgot. We might have to do a double one next week.
Yeah.
Since it's like 9:40.
Yeah, it is. We didn't do a giveaway.
That's okay.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Todd.
guys.
Reminding us. Can we do a giveaway or not?
We got to do a smaller number because they'll.
A small number? Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, so 1 through 100.
Yeah, let's do 1 through 100.
Okay, we forgot to do a giveaway.
What's the keyword? Todd?
Oh, Harris, Illinois, the first annual Sasquatch Festival in October. You should come do a giveaway. That's a
heck of an idea.
That's a good idea, man. Yeah. So there you go. There's the keyword. If you guys are out there and you know what to do, go ahead and guess a number between 1 and 100.
We can either go fish the Big Bass Bash, or we can go to a Sasquatch Festival.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm ready for that yet. I don't know. It'd be interesting. I saw actually a Sasquatch camper set up over there at Little Grassy one time. It was
really?
Some Sasquatch research something over there.
Really?
Yeah, over at the campground. True story.
Huh.
Yeah. I didn't see like Bobo or whatever that guy's name is. I didn't see any of those guys, but It was interesting. So there's somebody over there looking around. There's actually a story of
I don't know. I've heard
the big muddy monster or something.
I've heard some weird stuff at Cedar in the middle of winter over there.
You never know, man. I've definitely heard trees falling, but that happens all the time.
I've heard stuff running that I can't explain.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
And we need to talk about this sometime. It's interesting. The best Sasquatch story ever was definitely Matt Steffen. If you guys haven't listened to that
Go back
live
and
stream
check that
from Matt,
out.
it's about halfway through. It's about the 1 hour mark. He's got a straight up legitimate Sasquatch story. And we were supposed to have Matt Robertson on tonight, but he's really been busy pimping out his trailer. You know, he lives in the trailer park. He's like the mayor of the trailer park. He's been super busy and he had to cancel. But I'm thinking Matt's probably saw a Sasquatch. He's out there in Western Kentucky running around the woods late at night. He probably coon hunts and things like that. So I'm thinking he's got a Sasquatch story for sure.
All right, go back to spinnerbait. I'm sorry.
We'll get him on here.
7 minute spinnerbait turned into a 15-minute spinnerbait.
Yeah, so shad, you know, the smaller spinnerbait, smaller blades, I think are key, especially in the early part of the fall. You got a lot of the young of the year shad, and the bait fish are typically a little bit smaller. So covering water, same kind of areas as you're throwing your crankbait. The thing about this versus a square bill is this comes through grass a whole lot better. You can wake it and you can burn it. You can do a few more things with it. Comes through, square bill comes down wood pretty good too. But this is basically a 1-2 punch. I would throw a swim jig in there too. I'm partial to a swim jig just as much as a spinnerbait. But you got to have a crankbait, spinnerbait, swim jig on deck. Another bait that I've been throwing that's a spinnerbait is this little spot sticker spinnerbait. Have you got one of these? They're sweet if you need to get one.
Is that
This is a 3/8, but look how small that profile
Who makes that?
is. Spot sticker. Look at that. The wireframe design.
Oh, geez.
It's
Does it
really
tick?
No, but it runs really good at a high speed.
I bet.
Really good. So the Screaming Eagle and the spot sticker are two really, really good fall baits. Small blades, small profile. Going to get you a lot of bites. You're going to be able to cover water. It's going to come through cover good, grass good, basically whatever you run across. And then you can talk about waking a big spinnerbait with a big blade on there. That's a whole other thing that comes in a little bit later in the fall.
How'd you know that's what I wanted to talk about?
Did you want to talk about waking it?
Yeah, we're not to that point in fall yet.
No, that's more of a late fall where the bigger gizzard shad kind of come into play.
I'm kind of with you though. I'm partial to that.
The smaller stuff.
No, the swim jig.
Yeah, I like the swim jig. That's kind of my go-to. And then chatterbait too. But shad colors, man. With the spinnerbait, shad color. I like a gold and a silver blade. I pretty much throw that combination on everything. Got any winners yet?
I think we got a winner.
Got a winner?
I think. Stephanie's all over it again. I'm just making sure that nobody got it for her.
And Andy, if you're still on here, I will send your stuff out tomorrow or the next day. I was waiting on this product from Cumberland Pro to come in and got it today. So everything before this I've been giving away out of my own personal stash. I got some baits coming from Eric too from Hawgz. So we'll be able to throw some of that in there. Did you see it and you lost it?
No, I lost it. There it is.
Stephanie.
Again.
We got some fresh baits for you, Stephanie, though. I got your... You know what we got to do? We got to do you can only win once a month. I'm thinking.
We got to do name Jonathan's channel too.
Yeah.
If you guys got any ideas, throw it up there. I need some names for my channel.
Yeah, he's
something
trying to
catchy that's not taken by 3,000 other individuals.
Yeah, so Jonathan's starting a YouTube channel and he's looking for a name. If you guys want to, how about this? After we get off of here, leave in the comment section your recommendation for Jonathan's YouTube channel. Don't leave it yet, but as soon as we get off of here, leave it after we shut this down because he needs some ideals. Stephanie, send me a picture. I had Andy do this because Andy's won twice. Send me a picture of Stephanie's like, no, I don't like the once a month ideal. Send me a picture or just let me know what I sent you last time so I don't send you the same stuff. Unless you want the same stuff, that's fine. But I got a bunch of fresh stuff here that Isaac just sent me. A lot of pretty cool stuff. So you'll like it either way.
You know what we could do if you win twice in a month? You just get what's laying on the bottom of the boat.
No way. That'd be like $200 worth of stuff.
I'm talking about the used stuff, the old plastics.
Okay, that's different because I've got all kinds of crap. You guys haven't seen my boat.
You don't want to see the bottom of my boat.
Yeah, I go fishing for a couple weeks and it's a mess.
It's about once a month, once every other month that I finally clean it out. It's usually when I get a co-angler in the little club tournaments that we fish, and he'll be like, "Hey, can I clean this out for you?" I'm like, "No, you know what? Just." He's like, "No, I already got it all gathered up." I'm like, "Let me go through it because there might be something down there that still's good. You know, something I just took off like a frog or something like that may still have a little life left in it."
Well, sometimes if you're flipping something and you tear out the nose, it still makes a good jig trailer.
Mm-hmm.
You just throw it on the floor and it actually becomes more organic after it's been in there for
exactly. It's got some grime and some grit and color wore off of it.
It's a color that nobody else is throwing for sure.
So,
all right, folks. Any more last minute questions before we shut this thing down? It's coming up on 10 o'clock. It's been great. I'm glad you guys stayed on here this long. I hope you enjoyed Jack. Once again, if you're looking for a guide trip at Lake of the Ozarks, go check him out. He's a really good guy. He's been on here several times, and he's always been real responsive anytime I've shot him a text. The Warrior William Foundation Tournament at Lake of the Ozarks. Check that out once again. And
hey, good luck in the BFL this weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I need to.
You going down on?
Need to catch a couple fish.
Thursday, Friday?
I'm not sure yet. Not sure yet. It's all kind of in the works.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we'll see.
I like that, Brock. You answered true and false. Yes, it was true that it was a number between 1 and 100. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but
Kyle says he melts them down.
I've tried that, man. It's like toxic fumes.
Yeah.
You got to do it outside.
Put it in the microwave or what?
I did it over like my camp stove outside, but it's about temperature control because you can burn it really bad, and it's pretty toxic. But I've tried that. I've made some more. I used to make my own molds out of modeling clay and plaster of Paris, but I guess I don't have that anymore. So
I got a really cool bait idea, and I need to get with Eric on this. I can't really tell you what it is, but it's something I came up with. I took 2 different baits and cut them and made my own bait out of it.
Yeah.
You know, I never did the plaster cast or anything, but
we'll see. I mean, you got to be like Gary Yamamoto and come up with the Cinco.
Yeah, simple, stupid Sharpie. Stephanie Ken is a really good guy. Ken's just kind of got involved with the channel last couple months, and he's a really super good dude. He's real enthusiastic about fishing, and he loves answering questions, and he's been doing it for a while. Good tournament fisherman, so great to have him on here. That's it. We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys. I don't know what's going on next week. I got a couple. I don't know if Matt's gonna get on here, Matt Robertson, or I'm talking to Brent Anderson. You know, he's gonna come on here sometime. Just got to get the dates lined up. Got to get schedules. Ken Smith Fishing. You know, he's another guy. I've reached out to a lot of people. I can't remember who all I've reached out to, but I'll go back through it, and we'll finish all this other stuff later on. You know, maybe we'll do a guest or two, and then we'll do another fall fishing bait breakdown, because it seems like you guys like this. We had 60 people on here at one time, which is pretty good. We had, like I said, we had another 7 bait categories to break down, but you can't just. I mean, you kind of got to dive into it a little bit.
We almost got to do like
2 baits,
2 a night, because it's not just it's not like, hey, fall fishing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the technique, and if that's what you guys want, let us know. If that's not what you want, hey, throw a comment and say, hey, just give us your top 10 and move on. Like, make it a 5-minute section. But I know Gabe and we can't make it a 5-minute section because we're going to talk about it.
No, because I mean, when we get to the swim jigs, when we get to the underspins, when we get to the buzz baits,
there's
frogs,
so many little
toad. Yeah, this is all stuff. This is all like 30, 45 minutes.
Right.
So we'll be back.
Maybe we can get Uncle Ron in here.
Yeah, we need to get Ron on here, man. I'll talk to him, man. He'll come on here. It's been a while. We need to catch up with Ron. So he's got his own stuff that he does too.
I agree, Stephanie. We do need another fall fishing live stream.
Something else I was going to say, and I cannot remember now. I guess that's it.
Good luck in the BFL.
Thank you. Everybody.
Is it William Warriors?
Warrior William Foundation.
Warrior William Foundation. Yep. The Big Bass Bash coming up at
the 2nd of October at Lake of the Ozarks.
I have a small derby this weekend.
Good luck in that.
Thanks. So, yeah.
A lot of stuff. This is that time of year where everybody's got their team trail classics and the final tournaments of the year.
I wish there would be more in the fall, the classics. I like the fall because it's not just an absolute, I know we're getting late here, but there for a while it was just and it still is. You got all these, like the Angler's Choice USA Bass, and they're always in the spring of the year, and it's always a slugfest, and, it's go out there and who can catch the dirty 30. I like to see who can catch the struggling 15.
it's a grind. I like a grinder.
I like a grinder. When you get in 5 bites all day and you're throwing the same bait all day for those 5 bites, it kind of.
I like a grinder if you have
the fish report
pattern, or you have an idea of what you need to be doing. If I just put this jig in my hand and I flip shallow wood for 8 hours, I'm probably going to get 5 bites.
Right.
But if you're like, do I need to flip this? Do I need to throw this jig in 30 foot of water? Do you need to throw it in outside grass, 15 foot? Do I need to punch it in that?
That was Chickamauga throwing that frog
Yeah.
in the USA Bass and Classic last year. My goodness, we threw a frog all day, and it was like radio silence. And then when my team partner Kyle had one blow up, and it was well over 10 pounds.
Are you serious?
We saw it come all the way out of the mat.
Holy cow.
About 2 foot from the frog and just completely miss it. And we both, he stopped. I looked at him like, he doesn't have it, does he? He goes, no, he completely missed it.
Fished 5 hours for that bite.
Oh my gosh. It was probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon when that happened. And that was like the 3rd bite all day to see that fish come up. And we just kind of looked at each other and like, what do you do? I mean, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't, set too early, but he hits that fish, and that was I'm sure that would have been Big Bash of the tournament.
Oh yeah,
it was a giant. I mean, biggest fish I've by far ever seen in my life. So,
yeah, well, it happens, man. That's fishing.
That's why we buy that fishing license every year.
That's right. All right, we're gonna sign out. Leave the name of Jonathan's YouTube channel in the comment section after we go away, if you don't mind. Curious to see what some of your guys' recommendations will be. Keep it clean.
Yes.
All right. See y'all next week.
See you guys.
Have a good evening.